Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to today's Kyle Seraphin Show. It is Wednesday. It is January the 14th. I find that many of you actually listen a day or two after. So, hello on whatever day you're listening to us. We're going to go over the bombshell revelation that many of us have been waiting for. We thought that it might actually take until the Bongino Show 2.0 was launching, but no. Former FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino disclosed the bombshell revelation of what it was that shook him to his core, not the core, as Russell Brand pointed out, and we played on the show maybe a couple days ago. So that's very exciting, and I am looking forward to sharing it with you. And maybe we could do a little dissection and analysis of what it was, what it means, and what it doesn't mean. Now, before we get kicked off, if you are listening to our show on the audio after the fact, would you do me a favor and either leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts? We did get over 1,000 of those and we pushed it for a long time. I haven't really asked for it in a while, but it'd be great if you guys did. Same thing if you're listening over on iHeart or if you're listening on Spotify and you have an opportunity to rate it. There's half the comments and there's comments and then there's ratings. You guys can do both. I would love it if you guys did that. I read the comments, so say something. I had a really good sales class one time where the guy told me, please give me at the end of all sections or every little segment of the training, give me your questions, your comments, and your sarcastic remarks. I'll just let you know that the sarcastic remarks are preferable if you're going to leave one. So by all means, leave all those things. And the reason that we say all this stuff is because when you guys hit the like button, when you guys boost us up in the algorithm with the various things you can do, you put us on various leaderboards, including the Rumble leaderboard. And this is why I always ask for the likes over on there. There we already get number 45 yesterday. I rarely ever show this. It doesn't really mean all that much. It's just a rating of how interactive our show is compared to those out there. And you'll find that many of the shows on either side of us have way bigger followings. You guys are more active, and it just shows you kind of the screwiness that exists in these platforms. Allegedly, Rumble doesn't have an algorithm. YouTube, give us a like. Same story over on Rumble. Boost it up there. It shows real audience engagement, and it's more than sort of the nonsense that we see some of these other people that are boosted by either bots or they're just dumped in and the views are kind of fake and misleading. So all that allows us to do what we're going to do. We're going to be talking about, obviously, the bombshell revelation. I have a big question, and I want to explore it with you, the audience, because I actually don't know the answer to this. And sometimes when I don't know, I just have to ask it. And it's not me just like asking questions, this kind of thing. No, I seriously don't know what it is. And so maybe we can explore this together and the comments will be illuminating for me. I've been telling you that I sit in a category of people called bacon cheeseburger nationalists. And yes, that is kind of a secular version of being a Christian nationalist. I think if we share the same values, even if you don't go to my church, then we're on the same team. And those values include that you're a meat eater and bacon is cool with you and you like eating cheese and you don't want anyone else to tell you that you can't have that and that's not offensive. Then we live in this little space where regular kind of, and I've heard the term heritage Americans, but I'm really just talking about what I would call regular people from 20 or 30 years ago, where it would not have been outrageous. And that also means if you came to this country from somewhere else and you assimilated to what I'll call the dominant culture of America, then you understand that the dominant culture of America is the most important. And that's why we have the things we have. That's why we can have nice things. And yet, we also protect you if you're in the non-dominant cultures. If you're one of the minority cultures, like you don't get stomped out, you don't get massacred or genocided. That is an American value as well. So we're living in this kind of space where the dominant culture has been told to tiptoe through the tulips, and there's no particular reason for it. And it doesn't actually benefit the non-dominant cultures that have come in here and asked for all these things that they're not entitled to. Again, I would immediately dispense with all of the questions of immigration and whether or not we should have immigration enforcement if you drop the safety net tomorrow, and allowed me and my neighbors and my friends and those around me to just take care of those in need through private charity. And we would be able to do that because the government wouldn't be like looking into our pockets to be able to fund all their crap. That would be a really nice thing. And so the question of endgame is coming up to me. I don't know what leftist endgame looks like. I kind of get what right-leaning endgame is. It's, can they keep us on the fence long enough donating into their political campaigns? Can they keep us distracted long enough to just keep this rickety, kind of crappy scaffolding of America not falling over? But the question for me is what the left is looking for. I don't know. I don't really know. And it's not from not talking to leftists. It's from they don't seem to know either. But they're clearly pushing people who are low information, consume everything that comes down the social media river and the media river, mainstream, legacy, etc. They're pushing them towards a very emotional decision. And I just don't know what that decision or what they hope it looks like. If you are pushing constant outrage that some woman was shot in her car, where does it go? If you are constantly demonizing federal law enforcement, which you didn't used to do, by the way, and I've got some really interesting evidence from CNN. One of the accounts I follow over on X did a great re-expose of a 2016 ICE ride-along that CNN did. And you guys will notice a marked difference from where they were then under the Obama administration and where they are today. By the way, the Obama administration got rid of a lot of people too. So what in the actual hell is the end goal? If you're constantly telling people that everything the federal government does under the guy that you don't like is illegal and dangerous and anti-American and it's fascist and it's Nazi, then where does it go? What do you hope happens? What do you want to push these people to do? And I actually don't know. I don't think civil war is the answer for them, because I think they've seen what happens when they even get into a 1-on-5 fight with a MAGA guy. Many of you guys sent me the clip, but like a MAGA guy the other day started taking haymaker swings and knocked out like 5 or 6 people by himself because he was trying to hold on to an American flag. So I don't think that you think that there's a physical conflict world. There's some deluded people that do, but it's really not a great place for you to go out there and say, hey, I want to go after all the people that have spent their lifetimes training for violence, have spent their lifetime training to support their own families, take animals and harvest them in the woods. We're going to go out there and pick a fight with the people that are the hardest, the most capable, and maybe like most able to do violence when we don't even like going to the gym and we might think that fitness is fascistic. So I don't know what the answer is, but maybe you guys do, and maybe you guys can help me get there, because I actually do want to know. It's really important for me to try to understand where things are going and why. I want to know the why. And what do you hope? So anyway, so that's where we're going to go with today's show. And maybe we'll show some evidence of what's being done, and then maybe we could decide why. Before we do that, let me just go ahead and recommend that survival is always a good idea, and preparations are the way that you actually kind of like build your own insurance policy against weird stuff that can happen in your life. MyPatriotSupply.com/KYLE is our sponsor that does preparedness, and I recommend you guys check them out. We're only a couple weeks into winter. In Texas, we're not even getting winter, which is bizarre. Some of you are getting brutal cold and snowstorms and power outages and all other things that go along with winter. But buddy up in Montana told me it was negative 30 degrees when he was trying to walk around and see what the stars look like. And it's like, oh, I was in shorts the other day. For the first night in a long time, we had to drop below 75 degrees. So we got to have a fire. We're like San Diego weather here in Texas. That actually makes power outages or real winter weather a much bigger concern. For those of you that are acclimated to weather, you can handle it, and you probably have already got yourself squared away. Maybe you have a wood-burning stove. But if you're like me and you live in a place where that is not the case, you might want to make sure that you're ready to go. And you got to back up. Texas had some brutal freezes a couple of years ago. Ted Cruz ran off to Cancun. Can't blame him for that. But if you don't have a way to keep things heated up, my brother lost like a lot of his house because all the pipes froze and nobody knew what to do. So check that out. Look into the winter survival special that they've got, the winter survival kit. It's available at mypatriotsupply.com/KYLE. It's got a Vesta off-grid heater, which means you don't need electricity or propane. You can just light it up in your house. You can use it to cook. You can use it to stay warm. It may save your life if you're one of these people who lives in a place where you're just not acclimated to cold, so you just don't prep for it all the time. So check them out. Again, mypatriotsupply.com/KYLE. Look at the link in the show description if you guys want to go ahead and click through it. And if you're watching on the television, you can hold your phone up and you can scan through and take a look at it while we're talking about some other stuff. Not a bad idea to do. And we're going to get into today's program starting right now. Now, my dears that are in the chat, I just want credit every once in a while. I actually do start at or just before 8:30 Central Time here. So if possible, it'd be nice if you guys acknowledge that I do have occasional timeliness. And maybe it's when I spend the entire night thinking about what the show is going to be in the morning. I've been thinking about this problem of what the hell is coming our way and why. Why do people wish to push something that I don't think that, why would you start a fight you can't finish? And why would you get people riled up about something that they have no ability to do anything about? We're seeing this impotent rage. I see it on both sides of the aisle, so it's not unique to people on the left. But impotent rage is, I really want to do something, but I also don't have either the authority or the physical ability or even the wherewithal to know what the solution to that thing is. So I'm just yelling. It reminds me of a time when a buddy of mine stayed up too late. We were doing something else really stupid. We were trying to edit Wikipedia pages that we thought were funny, which is a dumb thing you might do if you're in the military and you're enlisted and your lady friend is in another state. And so here me and my buddy are, and we're drinking whiskey and fixing a Wikipedia page about an SNL fictional character. It's real specific. We woke up in the morning, felt terrible, had a bunch of stuff to do. Some of you may have heard this story before, but the very simple thing is my buddy walks out. I'm hungover. I've got a dog licking my face. The sun from the desert sky is blasting into my face already. And I'm looking around going like, oh, I feel terrible. We have a bunch of stuff to do. And I don't feel capable of doing any of it. And my buddy looks at me standing there, scratches his kind of belly, and he just goes, something. We didn't know what the something was, but we knew we had to do something. And I feel like that's what we're seeing happen right now. People on the left are screaming something, but there's no clear definition of what something is. And I'm not sure any of the people that are moving people towards that something understand what it's going to look like or where it's going to go. And that troubles me, because when you get people emotionally riled up, what you're going to do is not stop the problem of some lady sitting in their car who decides to gun the gas pedal or panics or whatever else. Maybe she was trying to flee, maybe she wasn't. You don't have a right to do those things. So all we see is this ongoing churn. And for those that are not social media people, and honestly, I feel like that's maybe one of the services I provide for those of you that are not. I hope you're not. Honest to God, like seriously, I hope you're not on social media. It's so awful. It's the worst thing that I do every day. I think it leaves me with a permanent, like sort of just throbbing vein in the back of my head. I don't care to be playing on social media, but what I can see is that I've curated an algorithm that gives me a lot of people that I would otherwise not agree with. I want to know what they're saying, and I think you should too. Here's a guy who seems very serious without the facts, saying super tough guy stuff. Okay? And this is this moving people towards impotent rage. The problem is you could actually very easily debunk this, and I'm going to do it for you because I saw this stuff as well. So here we go.
Hey, good morning. I don't know if you guys have heard that case about the kid at Target, 17-year-old kid working at Target. They got abducted by ICE and then dropped a few miles down the road after they realized he was an American citizen. Even though he was screaming the whole time, I was an American citizen. Of course, he was the brown variety of us, and that is why, you know, they stopped him and basically detained him and then arrested him and then dumped him up the fucking street. And it broke my fucking heart because there's a video of the aftermath when he's actually returning back to Walmart and he is absolutely fucking sobbing his eyes out. As any 17-year-old kid who just was fucking brutalized by grown men, thrown in a fucking truck and then thrown out, it sounds like, a few miles down the road. And look, I'm talking to Minnesota because I saw Keith Ellison or whatever his name is come on, and the mayor come on and say they aren't going to tolerate this shit. If you
yeah, you are going to tolerate it because there's nothing you can do about it. And also, you don't have the facts. So it's a Target. I believe the place is Richland, Minnesota. And here's the outrage video. I've got two angles of the outrage. What you're going to miss is the beginning. Like, why? Why did they grab this 17-year-old guy? He was just doing his job. He's an American citizen. Well, it turns out these guys were doing something, and there's a couple of simple rules that will help you. Many of you guys have been reflecting on Chris Rock's "How to Not Get Your Ass Kicked by the Police" video, which was released in the 90s. There is a way to not get your ass kicked by the police or by ICE or by federal agents, and one of them is don't assault federal agents. End of story. Don't do it, especially when they're there in mass. So here's the outrage video, and then we'll go ahead and debunk it.
Fuck you! Fuck you!
You guys are all on video.
No, listen. No, take my phone. Hey, they got my phone.
There is the paperwork for that.
Where's the...
They're doing on Target. They're doing on Target.
Hey, go.
Stand up.
Hey, fuck,
Anybody else? Going to ask where the fuck the wars are.
All right, everyone's got strong, big feelings. So many big feelings by people that are basically adult toddlers. You can hear the guy that got picked up that was on the ground screaming FUs and dropping those out. Here's the other angle of this thing. Again, let's come into a conflict in the middle of it and pick a side simply because there's a kid on the ground who's 17, who's man-sized. I don't know if you guys have ever seen what 17-year-olds can do, but they're close. They don't have old man strength, but they've got masculine, figure, and most of them gone through puberty, so they've got some more male density than like a real tiny kid, like one of my kids. I mean, I can pick my kids up and throw them physically. I toss them in piles of pillows. This kid took 2 grown men to hold him down, and he's FUing the whole way through. So here's another angle. And listen to the angry. It's not a man that's getting riled up. It's an angry, very butch-sounding woman with kind of a little bit of bass in her voice.
Hang on. Step back. Hang on.
Do they have
What are you doing? May.
This isn't it right now. Not fucking Minneapolis. Where is anybody
No.
else
What?
going to ask for the
Is that
fucking
John? Oh, get on the phone. Hey, no.
Shit. Where's the shit? Christian, do you have anybody you want us to call? My mom. What's her number?
Hey, all border vacation. Go to hell, dude. That's some bullshit.
Yeah, that's some bullshit right there. Everyone's mad about it. Where are the papers? Suddenly they care about papers. Suddenly they care about some due process. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Well, what do you think caused this kid, who's an American citizen, who had apparently his passport in his pocket, what caused him to get into this altercation with these very mean guys wearing all green? Maybe it was an inflated sense of self that often happens for teenagers. Teenagers regularly bite off more than they can chew. If any of you have been a teenage boy, you know what I'm talking about. You overestimated your masculine energy and you picked a fight with maybe your dad. Maybe you did it with your dad. I remember doing that with my dad one time. I was 16 years old. And I think I tossed my little brother, who was little. And I was, feeling my man strength. I was 125 pounds. And I was pretty tough. I worked out every single day. I tossed my little brother into a couch, and he was 9 or something like that. And so there you go. Deal with that, bro. And my dad was like, oh, you want to toss your brother? Like, I will toss you. And then he physically threw me, all 125 pounds of me, across the room. And I was like, whoop, okay, little gravity check there. It turns out that a 180-pound grown man or a 250-pound grown man who's 6'4" is more than a match for a 17-year-old punk-ass kid whose best job he can get is working at Walmart or working at Target and is overweight and obnoxious. And apparently nobody ever told him, don't mouth off to federal agents who are wearing guns, badges, and are wearing body armor when they're in kit. And by the way, there's 8 of them. What do you think's going to happen next? So maybe don't assault the feds, and then you don't end up with a knee on your head and getting dropped off down the street, which is what happened. So here's the actual lead up to it. This kid looked for something. He bit off exactly what he wanted to chew on. He just didn't realize what it was until he got his teeth on it, and then he had to change his mind. And guess what? The first thing that happens, waterworks, tears, crying, so sad.
Hey, don't touch him. Don't touch him. What are you doing? Come on. Yo.
Fuck you. I work here, bro.
Yeah, he works.
Touch me. I dare you. Fuck you.
Look at that.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Or what? Fuck you.
Look at that.
A few moments later.
You okay, man? No, I'm not okay. Bro, shit's crazy. My man's bleeding. Bleeding. They slammed me on the ground.
You tried to chest bump, body check somebody who had a 1.5 feet on you and does violence for a living, literally wakes up and trains for that sort of thing, manhandles people that are obnoxious. You got in his face with a camera. You can do the camera thing. Oh, look, I've been on scenes where I held perimeter. People want to take a video of you. It's like, fine, just step back. Don't put yourself in danger. Don't make me think that you're a threat to me or anybody behind me. And by the way, don't get shot by whatever's going on in that house out there that I'm trying to keep a perimeter on. Isn't it funny that it goes from like, F you, I'm so tough, to like tears because you got the shit beat out of you because you were being an asshole. Like, there's some real things in this world. You just, sometimes, and this used to be really normal in a high school scenario where somebody would pick a fight that they couldn't win, and then they would learn something really important about themselves. Oh my, there are physical consequences to being a moron. I should do less moronic things that would be good for me. I don't know. I don't know where this is going. Because I cannot find how this ends up in anything beneficial for either side, but mostly the people who are pushing the anger, who are pushing the sort of violent rhetoric. And it makes me think that it's all theatrical. That's all I can walk away from. And so, as is a usual theme of this program, the theater that exists in politics, it's at an 11 right now. The funny thing is they keep admitting to us that it's theatrical. And they're accidentally telling us what the answer should be, which, by the way, is stop funding almost all levels of government at almost everything they do, because we don't need that stuff. Okay, here's Representative Jayapal. She says the quiet part out loud, which is really funny. She says she wrote a sternly worded letter, and she's very upset about what's happening with ICE. But what do you think's going to come from it? Nothing. She actually says it on CNN. Nothing is going to come from it. If that's not the definition of theater, it's like, why are you doing that? Oh, I'm just posturing. Well, why are you wasting our time? Well, because it looks good for my donors. Are you supposed to go out on national television and say that stuff? I don't know, but here she is.
You led a letter requesting the Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, release additional materials related to that incident. Have you heard back at all from the Trump administration?
No, we have not. And I don't expect to, because what we are seeing right now is Kristi Noem and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance lying to the American people about what we all saw, what you aired on footage across the country for days now. And there is no sense that there will be an independent investigation that is fair. I spoke to Attorney General Keith Ellison from Minnesota just a couple of days ago, and he told me that the federal officials are not sharing information with Minnesota state law enforcement. And I watch these pictures, Wolf, and I think it's important that we remember this is over 2,000 agents, Border Patrol agents and ICE agents that have descended on Minnesota and an ICE agent just shot a woman, 37-year-old mother of 3, including a 6-year-old child, who was driving away, and her last words were, "I'm not mad at you, dude." And then an ICE agent shoots her 3 times.
You led a letter requesting the home.
He led a letter. I like that he said that. I wanted to play that for you one more time. You led a letter. You letter. Okay, fine. Yeah. So let's hone in on the details of what we said. Big part is going to be why are there so many ICE agents in Minnesota? Why did they surge 2,000? It sounds like a lot of agents hanging out in there. Okay, that's part one. The federal government is not letting the state do their own independent investigation, as if there might be a reason or a precedent to understand. So the gaslight is also turned up to 11 right now. The gaslight is when I tell you that something that is not happening is happening, and then I act like you're the crazy person. This is happening as it would always happen. Federal use of force is a federal issue. It is going to be investigated by the feds. If they happen to need the locals job almost always is going to be perimeter. It's please help us hold the crime scene. Oh, you're a bunch of a-holes and you have this political movement where you don't want to let us hold the crime scene? Then we'll hold the crime scene, and no, we're not going to share anything with you. And you don't have any statute here. You have no statutory authority to come in and investigate it. And we've done an entire show. You guys can go back when there was less excitement about this, right in the wake of what happened. I just told you, the Nagel decision, 1890, it's not like I'm going back into ancient history. What I'm telling you is that there is federal precedent, and this is what started the first instance of them saying, if the feds are doing something inside their duty, then they actually can be what's called scoped. And scoping means that I've looked at what you did. I determined that your actions were within the responsibilities of your job, and therefore the supremacy clause applies. You cannot stop what they're doing, and you have no right to get it. And if they want to share it with you, they can, but they only usually do that when they want to try to screw you over. And they're going to try to draw comparisons with a couple of different people, and I'm going to share it with you. One of them is the assassin of the Hortman family, who was a representative in Minnesota. And the major problem with this is a apples to oranges false analogy. This is not an even comparison. Why is that? It's because the guy that's accused of killing these people, assaulted 2 people, killed 2 people, he's not a federal agent. His name was Lance Bolter. We did a whole bunch on that at the time. And he's still sitting in a prison cell waiting to stand trial. He is not a federal agent. He broke the law. He used violence, and there was no particular reason. So it's so simple. Is that crazy to you? Watch them try to bring up these ineffective, and they're completely false comparisons. There's no business in even putting them together, but they do. And then the second thing is, why are there so many? And we can answer both of those. And it turns out people on the left are actually answering these questions when you start going and listening to CNN, which is funny because CNN has to actually point down the middle. It's like, hey, I don't know that it's great for us to get these people totally outraged. Maybe we could actually present some facts. The facts are, yeah, it sucks that the lady's dead. It really does. It's not great. I guarantee you it bothers that agent who did the shooting. A little bit more on that. There's people threatening his life, threatening his family, which sucks. But I know he didn't wake up in the morning and think, I hope I find a lesbian lady that tries to run me over the car so I can justifiably shoot her through the windshield. That's a nightmare. Anyway, why is a federal agent shooting somebody in a likely justifiable use of force not the same as an assassin randomly going in the dark and pretending to be a cop? Oh, I can't fathom it. But here's the question.
You know, we lost Renee Good. She was killed in broad daylight, unarmed, in her car, mother of three. And they are now saying they want to do an investigation that excludes local law enforcement. You know, Minnesota has been through a series of tragedies over the past year. When my former friend and colleague Melissa Hortman and her husband were assassinated, there was a joint investigation with the feds and local law enforcement. When we had a mass shooting at Annunciation Catholic School, same thing. We had a cooperation between the feds and local law enforcement. There is no reason why we can't have a transparent investigation that involves local law enforcement as well as federal agencies so that we can get transparency and accountability.
Right. That red herring, we see it, you're holding it up, and yet, what does that have to do with anything? One guy was an assassin who had some ideas, nobody knows. There's a manifesto, all kinds of weird stuff, looked like mental illness. And that has what to do with a federal agent shooting somebody that was being detained for obstruction of a federal operation, and then she presented an imminent danger of death or serious physical injury with her car. Maybe to him, maybe to the other agent. We don't even know what the articulation looked like yet. It's weird. All right, let's address the other claim. The other claim is, why are there so many of them? Well, you heard it here yesterday or the day before, and I think I speculated to you, it's really straightforward. If the local police did the job that they would normally do on these federal operations, which is to say they would hold perimeters for the safety of the public, by the way, and the safety of the officers, and for the safety of those who are being detained, it turns out it's actually kind of dangerous to empower idiots like that 17-year-old kid to go get in the face of an ICE officer. It's dangerous for the kid. It's dangerous for the ICE officers. It's dangerous for the bystanders. It's dangerous for the idiots that think they're going to intervene. Where are the papers? Where's your arrest warrant? It's like, bro, you can't bump into a federal agent while you're aggressively posturing and saying things like F you. Turns out you're probably going to end up on the ground. This happens on the border all the time, by the way. This is the most common FBI, what's called AFO case, assault on a federal officer. All right. So why are there so many of them? Well, it turns out, as I told you the other day, it's because the local police aren't doing the thing that they normally would do. And now you're getting it from CNN. So it's just showing you the quality of analysis you're getting here on one guy. It's as good as a whole panel over there on the mainstreams.
They operate in those states. They have compliance with local law enforcement.
Wait, why aren't they surging in Texas where there are perhaps more undocumented immigrants?
Because there's compliance with local law enforcement. You don't have to have massive, packs of ICE agents doing the job of local law enforcement.
So you really
in non-sanctuary jurisdictions.
Think that Minneapolis, which I think has a population of maybe 100,000 undocumented immigrants, requires the largest deployment of ICE anywhere in the country?
A temporary one.
Anywhere in the country,
just like Anna said,
really?
in red states where they're complying with ICE detainees, complying with local law enforcement.
We have common sense here.
He has absolutely targeted blue states, particularly of people he doesn't like.
Yes, agreed.
No,
agreed.
People like J.B. Pritzker. I hate J.B. Pritzker.
Sanctuary
I hate
city,
Gavin
agreed.
Newsom. That's not true.
Point stipulated.
You know exactly that this is retribution. He himself is saying that this is about being vindictive and retribution.
That's who Trump is.
If you come and talk to me and you have a sign like this and you want to try to tell us how the America is going to work, I just don't care because you're not a bacon cheeseburger nationalist. Why does that woman always have a seat? I know she's on The View. I think she's on The View. I don't get it. They just told you what was happening. There's 100,000 people that are in this country illegally in Minneapolis. Are you shitting me? 100,000? An entire stadium for like a massive football team in the collegiate sports world? 100,000 people? And you're like, why would you come after only 100,000 people? That's 100,000 people that are stealing identities from Americans. That's 100,000 people that may have all kinds of wild criminal records. Why are you cool with that? We have common sense here at CNN. No, it turns out the bald guy from New York has more common sense than you do. That's objectively obvious. He just answered your question. We got a lot of people, and you're not helping. If you wanted to help, then you could be part of the solution. You could look out for the citizenry. You could look out for the ICE officers. You could look out for the illegals so they can be justifiably and safely taken into custody. Or you could empower your citizenry, act like idiots. And then some of them are going to get arrested that are U.S. citizens, but they're dumb. They're 17-year-olds. They're full of piss and vinegar, and they think their brown skin makes them have some sort of allegiance to people that are not here legally, who would take them and do way worse than what those agents did. And they wouldn't just drop them off at the car and leave them a couple miles down the road when they decided not to do the rest of the processing. Because that was the alternative, by the way. They could have taken him to a Border Patrol substation. They could have taken him to one of the detention facilities. They could have booked him in. They probably just looked at him and was like, this is a dumb kid. He made a stupid mistake. He's already experienced all he's going to get. Get him out of here. Let him go live the rest of his life and go cry on TikTok. Oh, that's what it did. That's wild to me. And is it theater? That's the question. Jayapal said, I wrote you a letter because I wanted to write a letter. I need to get donors, but I don't expect anything to happen. Here's CNN legal analysis saying all of these things are just performative. The lawsuits are performative. The crying on TV, it's performative. The radicalizing these people, it's performative. And we don't know what your end goal is. I still don't know what the end goal is other than you're just sort of virtue signaling to people and you're getting people amped up to some no end. There's no outlet. There is no answer to the question, something. What is the something? What do you want people to do? I'm getting my riot gear together because maybe people are going to get stupid in Austin and I'm just going to go walk around and film it. And by the way, after watching some of these videos, I realized I better get some ear pro to mount onto my helmet, which has a GoPro camera. Like I'm ready to go. And that's kind of dumb as a 44-year-old man that thinks it's going to be interesting. But like, I actually am fascinated. What is the end goal? What is the something? Okay, here's CNN just explaining all your outrage is stupid. All your feelings are theatrical. And by the way, I read the lawsuits and they're performative.
I've read both the Minnesota and Illinois lawsuits. They're really political diatribes masquerading as lawsuits. If you look at what both states are asking the courts to do, it's to kick ICE out of those states and cities and to bar ICE from carrying on federal law enforcement in Illinois and Minnesota. That's the top thing both states asked to do, and they cite zero precedent for that. There is zero precedent for that. There is no way a judge can say, you federal law enforcement agency, you are not allowed to execute federal law in a certain state or city. I think the most that the states could get out of this, if they get sympathetic judges, is a judge who's going to ask questions of ICE, who's going to hold hearings, who's going to demand questions about how they're training, how they're carrying out their policy. You also could have judges that issue sort of symbolic orders along the lines of, ICE, you are not to violate the law, but that's already the case. It's already not allowed for ICE to violate the law. So these lawsuits, which appear to be coordinated, they're potentially powerful political statements, but I don't give them much of a chance of achieving the legal thing that they're asking for in the courts.
Okay, so you're abusing the court system to make some sort of political argument and you want to do some theatrical presentation. And the end result is maybe you get some answers, but you're going to try to clarify that things that are already true, that ICE agents can't break the law. They can't just randomly do it. They can't just do whatever the hell they want, right? There are certain parameters where they have to operate within. Okay, I got you. What if people were to just take it on themselves and get even dumber? Like, there are some things that you might be worried about. Like, what if an ICE agent starts feeling super empowered by his job and then he wants to take it off duty, right? Like, you know, you get your badge, your gun. I did this. You get out of Quantico, you get out of FLETC, and you're out in the world and you're like, my job is to stop injustice. You know, I'm going to go out there and police everybody. Like, you can't park there, right? That's a handicap spot. I'm going to deal with you. I'm going to detain you until the cops get here when I don't know what the law is. Okay, yeah, you can't do that. You know what you can do, though? You can intervene in the middle of a violent felony. That also will get people upset about you. I got a really, really good one. I had no idea that the ICE agents, even off duty, were so busy in this country removing the constitutional right that all of you have to fire your freaking guns in the air on every holiday and make a lot of noise and send projectiles up without no idea where it's going to come down. You had a constitutional right to fire off your guns, didn't you? ICE agents are taking that. So now I am a little bit outraged. And I got that story for you in 1 second here before we do it. Maybe you're talking about guns. Maybe you're thinking, hey, I don't actually have a gun. What's wrong with me, Kyle? Is there something wrong with me? There might be. why don't you check out my buddies over at Shield Arms? I'm going to see them when I go to SHOT Show next week. Reached out and talked to them. They've got a big booth. If you guys are going to be in Vegas, look me up. You can probably find me there hanging out at occasional times. Shield Arms, SHIELDARMS.com, shieldarms.com. Use promo Kyle. I think you save 5%. Depends on. I'm using a bunch of their stuff right now. I'm using their Magwell on my carry gun. I'm using their magazines in my carry gun, and I'm using their slings, which I wasn't sure I was really keen on right when I first got them, but my buddy Bo designed them. He's a retired Green Beret, and now I'm using them pretty frequently. So check out their soft gear. If you're looking for something that's not armor, or maybe you have like slick armor, or maybe you're like a law enforcement officer, or maybe you're just a person that wants to be able to throw something on in the middle of the night, you can check out their soft gear. That split vest is very well thought out. You can put comms, magazines, you can put medical, etc. They're really, really well thought out stuff, and they're all designed by people who used to fight bad guys for a living and had to access kit under really rough situations. So check it out, shieldarms.com, promo code KYLE. Look in the description below. They even sell full firearms, by the way. They sell a fantastic folding lower if you're building your own AR. They make really good, like all the way out the box, just grab them and go AR-15s, folding or non-folding. And then I'm generally carrying a Shield modified Glock 43X, for those of you who are asking. That's my everyday gun. I carry that, or a Glock 19, which I carried when I was in the Bureau. Carrying 15 rounds in a tiny little concealed handgun with a dot on it that you can shoot out to 100 plus yards. It's a game changer. Their mags are legit. And so anyway, that's what I use. So if you guys are interested in gun stuff, that's kind of like why I'm going to SHOT. I love the gun stuff. I love the gear stuff. And I'm going to be hanging out with Joe Altman out there of Conservative Daily / Untamed. And he's the owner of DCF Guns. So we'll go do that. All right. I'm going to get back into this, this fun little game. I hate it when I find out that federal officers or agents are taking away people's constitutional liberties. I hate that. It's the worst. I didn't even know this happened in America. Are you guys prepared to be outraged, for all of you that have been kind of irritated with the lefties? This is really going to outrage you. You no longer are safe to exercise that constitutional liberty to go blast off your rifle in the air on a holiday. Can you believe it?
Keith Porter's mother, overcome with grief at the candlelight vigil in Carson, where she raised him. This is the second memorial in a week for the father of two shot and killed in Northridge by an off-duty ICE agent on New Year's Eve.
Took our loved one from us. You murdered our loved one, and it's not fair. It's not right.
According to the Department of Homeland Security, the off-duty ICE agent heard gunfire near his apartment and went to check it out. That's when DHS says the officer encountered Porter holding a long rifle. Advocates say Porter's gunfire that night was his way of observing the holiday.
Yes, it was illegal, but at the end of the day, it's American tradition.
I'm 80 years old. It's happened as long as I can remember. That's one of the things that happens. People shoot guns as part of fireworks and celebration of the new year.
But the agent allegedly ordered Porter to put down the weapon, and when he didn't comply, DHS says the off-duty officer fired his service gun. The agency claims Porter fired 3 rounds at the off-duty agent before he was killed.
This is a human rights issue.
The 43-year-old's death touching complete strangers. Judy Vaughn from Mid-City drove 20 miles to Carson for his memorial instead of marching at an anti-ICE protest closer to home.
We all need to recognize the shared humanity and come together. And I just wanted to be here to be a part of this group saying his life is valuable, his life matters, and we.
This story has everything in it. It's got gun rights. It's got a 80-year-old white savior. It's got the violation of your age-old American right to fire your gun indiscriminately in the air and just send projectiles up that could come flying down and kill people, and do every single year and all over the world. And as long as America has been America, people have gone out and shot guns on holidays randomly. And then they pointed their guns at officers that told them to put the gun down, asshole. You have an American right to be a dickhead and fire your gun indiscriminately into the air in the middle of an apartment complex. Why wouldn't you be able to just do that? How many laws do you think that guy broke? We know that it was illegal. Yes, it was illegal, but he liked it. He liked doing it, and therefore he felt nice when he was firing his gun in the air. My sarcasm can't last that long. Are you serious? Like, this is it? This is what we got? They were like, hey, I feel like it's the meme of Dr. Evil and the evil henchwoman, you know, the German doctor lady. And he's like, They're not buying the angry lesbian mom who tried to run over the cop with a car. And they're like, release the black guy who's fired rounds in the air. How dumb is this? Like, what do you want these people to do? You just are, now you're upset that an ICE agent, quote unquote, murdered a guy that pointed a rifle at him and was firing indiscriminately. This human right that we apparently didn't know we had to just fire off rounds. I want to go fire off rounds in the backyard at things that are not a big deal. Like, I want to shoot at targets. I can't do it because I live around other people. And I guarantee I don't live in a freaking apartment building where I'm that close. This is crazy. And if you guys have never heard the story of people getting injured by like gun, like every single New Year's Eve, there's a warning story about what goes on. Like, be careful if you're in Mexico. Dipshits firing guns in the air can, like, they come down somewhere. It's a parabolic arc. If you guys don't know, it leaves at a certain velocity and it comes down at whatever the terminal velocity is that's for that particular piece of metal, that projectile. It comes down. Sometimes it goes through people's heads. Sometimes it goes through their car and through their heads. Sometimes it hits an infant. I mean, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But again, if you're looking for a reason for a candlelit vigil, you got it. How about crying for gang members? Nothing like getting fact checked, which is where we're going to go towards the end of this here. We're going to get to the fact checks. You say something on Twitter, it turns out real people read it. I don't think Twitter is real life. I just don't. I don't think social media is real. If you're mad at me on social media, I don't care. If I say something mean about you on social media and you met me in person, don't assume that I know who you are, nor assume that I'm mad at you. I'm just not. I had to have a change of heart on a number of people that I've actually spoken to as a real human being because Twitter is not real. Facebook is not real. They're not your real friends. I don't know how to explain this to you. If they can't pick up the phone and call you and tell you the news, then they're not your friends. I learned that a long, long time ago, and I would have been all away from everything to do with social media other than this life that I've actually gotten myself accidentally into. And now it's necessary. It's a necessary evil. But Twitter can follow you into real life because when you say it and you're a politician, you are accountable for the things you send downrange. I know a lot of the mean stuff I say. Somebody one day is going to ask me about it. The funny thing is I'm not going to deny it. My wife and I had a really funny conversation, total aside here, but it's really funny to me that Julie Kelly of the Dan Bongino and Steve Bannon show thought she was going to shame me with my own words because she was like, Kyle said he would drown me if he saw me drowning. And I was like, no, I didn't say that. I said I would throw you a cinder block to help you float. You think I didn't know what I said? You think it was accidental? I put it out in the world. I have 240,000 followers on that platform. If I say something in writing, I know that someone read it. I said it on purpose. I mean it. In the hypothetical scenario where I'm in a boat and you're in the water drowning somewhere because you've been drinking, whatever, white wine too early in the day and you can't get back into the boat, I'm happy to throw you a cinder block in the hypothetical scenario where I'm in a boat with a cinder block and I find you floating around in the water. I don't give a shit. Like, yeah, in this fantasy world that we are talking about, I will throw you a safety cinder block to float. Follow it down, honey. You're shocked that I said something hyperbolic that offends you? I don't care. Turns out, though, if you say some dumb things and then a reporter comes up and says, hey, did you say that dumb thing? The answer should be yes. I had a James O'Keefe, his attorneys did a deposition of me. And it was essentially 7 hours of them reading my tweets to me and saying, what did you mean by that? I'm like, I meant exactly what I said in the word. I'm replying to Tweety Bird 6579, some Chinese bot, and I wrote the following mean, sarcastic, sardonic, or otherwise like unsavory statement. That's what I did. If you're just listening, that was a raspberry. That's what that says. Okay. Bill Melugin goes and asks this woman, this is Representative Dexter. She's out of, I think, Oregon. I think that's what's going on here. Turns out writing sympathetic posts to 2 TDA gang members who got shot by federal agents. That also did not. That's about as dumb as celebrating the guy who pointed a rifle at the ICE agent. Pretty dumb.
Why didn't you wait for any facts to come out on the Portland Border Patrol shooting before you put your statement out?
I did not make a statement about the...
You did. It's on Twitter.
No, I made a statement. I did not say anything about whether or not those folks were rightfully having...
You said ICE is terrorizing the community. It wasn't ICE, it was Border Patrol, and you said
My question for you is, did they follow due process? And the answer is no. Those folks were shot before they had...
Those folks were 2 Venezuelan gang members who both local police
Allegedly.
And local police in Portland say they were.
I met with the police chief, and it is not that clear. So alleged is not... due process.
So do you consider those alleged Tren de Aragua gang members to be your neighbors? You said We got to show up for our neighbors.
We have to show up for our community, and our community is feeling terrorized right now. They are outraged that people are being shot without having any detainment or due process in the court of law.
I just want to know what this due process looks like. I want to know, how do we know it's due process? Will there be a chyron on the life of our movie that says due process is now being served? And then we'll know what that is. Does she have any background in this at all? Does she have a law enforcement background? Does she have like a background as an attorney? We saw Nancy Pelosi's daughter weigh in. She was like, former prosecutor here. It's like, lady, you used to prosecute misdemeanors for 3 years to get some political clout. Maybe don't weigh in on a federal use of force shooting. How many federal use of force cases did you prosecute? Oh, none? Then shut the F up. You don't know what you're talking about. Are these your neighbors? Are these TDA gang members your neighbors? We have to show up for our community. It's required that we're there for the community. Clown show. The best part, though, is that some of them end up letting the mask slip. Jayapal did it. I'm writing a sternly worded letter. It's theater. Here's another good one. This is the mayor of Somalia, Jacob Fry, telling you a win, and he's celebrating it. And he accidentally kind of tells us what the solution to this stupidity is. And by the way, it's the same solution that I would get behind. And so would Thomas Massey, my favorite congressperson, who had a really funny interaction on Twitter. When Twitter comes into reality, you find out sometimes that there are real people that are going to look at you. So we'll play that in a second here, too, a little fun interaction. But Jacob Fry, explain to us where the problem lies.
In Minneapolis, we just had a major victory against Trump. Trump was saying that we wouldn't get any federal funds if we treated our undocumented neighbors with compassion and fairness. And we said, hey, you can't do that. It's unconstitutional. You can't deprive cities of funds that have, by the way, already been allocated through a fair budget process. Guess what? The judge just agreed with us. This is a huge step in the right direction. We can push back on what Trump is doing right now. We can use this judicial process. We need to be keenly aware of what's going on and making sure that we're strategic as possible. And this is a great step. So, hey, let's keep that momentum going, everybody. We need to make sure that we're standing up for our whole country. And by the way, that includes the neighbors that we love.
Neighbors equals comrades because you are a communist. Isn't that fun that we were able to hone in on that a couple of days ago? Neighbors is the buzzword for communists, for comrades. This is what they're saying. Our neighbors, these illegal people that have no business being here. That's cool. All right, fine. But didn't he just tell us what the solution is? Maybe the federal government shouldn't be involved in healthcare, shouldn't be involved in childcare, shouldn't be giving you money for anything. And then you guys can tax your own citizenry, including the illegals that are on like 80% plus of them are getting some sort of federal assistance. Awesome. You can fund your neighbors all the hell you want. I am pro take care of your own neighbors. But I'm not in favor of you making me take care of your neighbors because I don't think they're my neighbors. And that is just a simple difference. The answer is less federal government. Oh, it's like a weird conservative position. He accidentally told you where it is. Go figure. Look, we have a federalist system. It's meant to have some balances. Those due processes that they keep talking about, they keep conflating local due process and federal due process. It turns out the federal government has way too much power. I think we can all agree on that. It doesn't make you a statist to say when you give people a job, when Congress, authorized by the Constitution, writes a law that it requires enforcement, and the people that are meant to enforce it in the executive Article 2 powers go out and do that thing, then you don't get to cry about it. And in fact, the lady who was saying, did they get their due process? Honey, did you fund the government? Did your party fund the government? Has your party funded the government ever? Oh, you funded that agency, didn't you? The same thing I'm laughing about with the Republicans crying about, how come the FBI is so bad? By the way, we're going to give them the whole budget and keep everybody employed. Well, you're funding your own demise, dummies. The question is, can ICE do things that ICE does? And the answer is yes, but they can't do ICE things that they can't do. But let's not try to draw the line. Can they just pull you out of your car? No, they have to have probable cause. But if they have probable cause, then they can. But we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about the things they can't do. Meanwhile, none of these things actually fit the scenario that actually happened. So again, what is the end goal of putting these pseudo-expert type guys on there to tell you things when they've already kind of had to share? They have to kind of admit that they're all full of crap when it comes down to it. It's like It's an apples to orange scenario. We're going to tell you about the scenario, even though it has nothing to do with anything. What about Vance Bolter? Oh, the not federal agent that went and killed people? Yeah, I don't know. What about him? How does that have to do with anything? Anyway, here we go. This is a attorney letting you know what your rights are. Know your rights. Remember, you can jump in the face of an ICE officer. It just means you're going to probably end up with a knee on your head.
Can ICE agents order you out of your car?
They can stop you. They can ask you a series of questions, but they can't force you out of the car. If they were to stop you, you can ask them at this point, am I under arrest? And if they say no, then you can say, am I free to leave? And you're free to leave. But they can't necessarily force you out of the car, and they don't have the right to basically detain you unless they have some type of reason to arrest you.
Can ICE go into schools on private property?
If they try to enter your private property or private space of a school or anything like that, the school has the perfect constitutional right to say you may not enter unless you have a search warrant signed by a real judge.
Can ICE detain U.S. citizens and people who may not be citizens but have permits to work and live here legally?
No, they enjoy the same constitutional rights as U.S. citizens, and it's the same thing. Unless they have grounds for arresting them, which either means witnessing a crime or having a warrant for their arrest, they may not detain them. And these individuals, if arrested, are entitled to a court hearing where the government has to prove why they're detaining them.
Can the
That is so good. That is so great. All those things have nothing to do with it. I love that they said, can they detain somebody? And they're showing the kid on the ground who got in the face and made physical contact with a federal agent. I'm not cheering on federal agents. I think a lot of these things should be defunded. I think the ATF could go away. I think most of the FBI could go away. I think a lot of these places could go away. That'd be fine. They oftentimes abuse American citizens. But it just turns out, if you write the law, and then you put people out there with the proper training to be able to execute it, and then you have somebody do some dumb thing, and then you show some selectively edited footage, then I'm not going to agree with you. I love a real judge, too, by the way. You guys in the chat are picking that up. It's got to be a real judge. If you get a fake judge to sign off on your paperwork, that is a fake judge. And so that is fake paperwork. So that doesn't count. Fake paperwork, not real. Okay, dude. Cool. And then what's the end game of this? Are we actually trying to turn the left and leftists into sovereign citizens? That occurred to me when I was listening to this guy. You guys ever watch sovereign citizen videos? They're super entertaining. They're really dumb, especially as a former federal agent. It's like, God, are we going to run into this guy? Am I really going to have to do the guy am I being detained? Am I free to go? Am I being detained? Am I free to go? So I'm free to go? Am I free to go? I'm not driving. I'm just traveling. I'm not driving. I have the freedom to travel. I'm an Article 3 free inhabitant of the universe. Are we going to do that? Are we going to turn the weirdo lefties into sovereign citizens so that they're doing the same Looney Tunes shit that they do at the border when you see these people? They're infinitely interesting to watch. It's really like a human drama playing out where one non-retard is asking a simple question. Whether or not I think it's right is another animal. But it turns out if you stop every single car that comes through the checkpoint and you ask them all the same question, which, by the way, is a dumbass question. It's a really dumb question. If you've never lived in a border state, you guys don't know. But California, Arizona, New Mexico, parts of Texas, you're driving through these border checkpoints, oftentimes like 50 or 80 or 100 miles inside the interior of the United States. And it's really awkward. And they'll walk up to you and it's like some little midget woman wearing like a Ninja Turtle outfit, full so much body armor and kit falling off her. And you're like, what in the hell? And you're in your lifted up, vehicle and they look over and they go, "Sir, for the purposes of immigration, are you a U.S. citizen?" And you're like, for the purposes of immigration, what the hell kind of sentence construction is this? You just go, yes, I am a U.S. You just answer the question. And are you giving up something? Maybe. But they're allowed to do it. They can do the same thing at drunk checkpoints. I don't like drunk checkpoints, but I also don't like drunk drivers. I don't like illegal aliens, and I don't like illegal alien checkpoints where they ask you, for the purposes of immigration, are you a U.S. citizen? But they do it. And they do it to everybody. And so the Supreme Court has said, as long as it's not discriminatory, it is a lawful thing. You're on an American roadway that's funded by the federal government, and there's a federal enforcement authority inside the I don't know why they do it. They just do it. Or you could be an asshole sovereign citizen and you'd be like, I'm not driving, I'm traveling. Am I free to go? Am I being detained? Am I free to go? So I'm free to go then. I'm not free to go, so I am being detained. Oh, I'm not being detained, but I'm not free to go. And then they just hard out for 5 minutes until someone just goes, go away. Just get out of here. Are we going to turn the left into sovereign citizens? If that's the end goal, let me know. Just let me know in a comment so I can understand how this is working. Here's another version. Here's another version of being a sovereign citizen, apparently. Maybe you're a physician. Maybe you're just a creep who likes to cosplay with your girlfriend while wearing scrubs. I don't know who you are. I can't check your license in real time. The dude that was on my squad just shot this lady that tried to run him over. So you can't go and touch her body. I don't know why you want to. Maybe you have some sort of like weird necro fetish or something, but you can't go touch the crime scene and or an active investigation scene. You cannot walk up and just check a body. We don't need you to. Every federal investigation, every federal like team that I've ever been on had people that were at least trained at the minimum as an EMT first responder. They all of them get care under fire or self-aid buddy care or some version of medical treatment. Okay. And I know that I used to teach it at Quantico. I taught it for, I don't know, like a dozen classes before they realized that like I didn't say nice things about the FBI while I was teaching. They're like, is this the best job in the world? I'm like, that's a good job sometimes. Sometimes it's not. I used to teach. I was the first person in my class to be an adjunct instructor of emergency medicine at my academy. I think I was the first instructor from my class because like within 6 months as a probationary agent, I'm teaching emergency self-aid buddy care. They call it TCCC. There's a lot of different names for it. There's a lot of different brands. We had some really, really good physicians teaching it. At the end of the day, there's someone that knows how to check a pulse. Everybody learns how to do CPR coming out as a federal agent. It's across the board. FLETC, it's at Quantico. Take your pick. Can I check a pulse? Look at this nonsense. Listen to the music too. It's so impressive. Can I check a pulse is the same thing as am I free to go? Am I being detained? This is like sovereign citizen doctors.
Can I check a pulse?
Can I check a pulse?
Can I check a pulse?
Can I check a pulse? Can I check her pulse?
Can I take a pulse?
Can I check a pulse?
I'm a physician.
I'm a physician.
I'm a physician.
I am a physician.
I am a physician.
I'm
a physician.
I am Renee Good.
I am Renee Good.
I am Renee Good.
I am Renee Good.
No, you are not Renee Good. Renee Good is dead. I don't know how you guys missed that one. You're probably not a physician either, Bowtie. But it's pretty clear to me. The answer when I said I don't care, I also don't care. As a former federal agent and a former tactical paramedic, I don't care. Get the hell out of here, weirdo. No, you can't touch the person who's dead. Do you know what? There's almost nothing more useless than a physician running up on a scene who's never actually like done hands-on. There are certain emergency room physicians that are super capable, 100%. But you're like, I'm an optometrist. Okay, dude. How many ambulance rides have you been in? How many times have you worked outside of like commanding like an army of nurses with a crash cart nearby? Have you ever worked out of a backpack while things are happening around you that are chaotic and there's like, I don't know, like fire trucks and broken glass and all these road hazards? Do you have any idea what this scene looks like? You're going to go touch somebody in there? Did you ever do a serious emergency rotation? How long ago was that? Optometrist? Pediatrician? Family medicine? Like nothing against you. You're better than nothing, but I'll take an EMT every day that's actually done EMT work. And I say that as a paramedic who used to have people pull up on scene and they'd be like, I'm a community nurse. I check for syphilis. It's like, cool, man. Go swab somebody else's dick. We're dealing with somebody who got hit by a car. Like, thanks for being here. Go away. Go call 911 and get real people here. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but at the same time, why? Why on earth would you think that your experience even matters here? This is the same as the sovereign citizen fake lawyers. It's like, you're useless. Go away. No, you can't touch the dead body. All right. All of this is to say, I just don't know where it all goes. I'm watching it happen. I'm seeing it like in real time. People are losing their minds. And then it seems like it keeps leading to this because eventually these people get really irritated, amped up, emotional. And the emotional end is I'm going to get a gun and start training for violence. So you get these ladies that are talking about it in their car. I really, really hate when people say pew pew instead of gun. I don't know why that is. I don't like people saying the little one instead of handgun, instead of the big one, instead of shotgun or rifle. Like these are real words that grownups use. If that gets you banned on TikTok, then you're a moron. Why are you on TikTok? It's not real. This is so dumb. But listen to this lady who looks like a cross between a man and a lady, listening to, it's not lost on me that she's listening to the Talking Heads in the background and the song Psycho Killer. This is not the flex you think it is, lady. And by the way, if you just started going to the range today, you're about 2 decades behind on guys like me, and I didn't even see combat. but like, you're not a threat to me at all. You're just a weird lady that wants to flex on TikTok. Is this what you're trying to get your followers to do?
Good afternoon. Fuck Donald Trump. Today I was at the range, and it'll do your heart good to know there was a lot of women there. I was there not with but with the little one that I carry with me all the time, and I'm going to show you up here a little picture of what I was aiming at today. You motherfucking MAGA fucks, you might think that we're out here just sitting around wondering what's going to happen. I am wondering about shit. I know what's going to happen. Fuck you.
I love it. Yeah. This is a great song. That's a crazy lady. It always tells you in the eyes, doesn't it? Lady, you look like you could take a punch. I don't think you can outdraw me, especially if you call it the little one. What a weird thing to push your people to. Is she being detained? Can she check a pulse? Is she free to go? Like, why do these people do this? Honestly, if the end game is turning leftist crazy people that are on SSRIs and are consuming anti-anxiety meds and like probably shouldn't own a gun to begin with and certainly didn't train with it, if those people are turning into sovereign citizens, then that will be the wild. I won't have that on my bingo card until I guess I have to put it on now. So there you go. It's just so silly. The LARP is at 11. The cosplay is so high. I got another one of this lady who's found the solution. All they need to do, guys, all the left needs to do to overcome what's going on is just register as Republicans. Checkmate. It's game over, man. It's game over. They're gonna register as Republicans. They're gonna put in Lindsey Graham or whatever it is we don't like. Nobody's ever thought of this before. No one's ever considered it. This is the worst thing about social media is that the dumbest possible people who just woke up, they're at the first peak of the Dunning-Kruger effect, which means they just realized a little bit and they think they know way more than is actually reality. They haven't hit the trough where they're like in the abysmal depths of realizing that they know almost nothing. This sort of Socratic moment where it's like, real wisdom is recognizing you know nothing at all. No, this lady's going to solve the problem. We're just going to register as Republicans, and we're screwed.
Just register Republican. Just register Republican. You're a blue dot in a red area. Just register Republican. Then you get a say in who gets to be their primary candidate. Register Republican. Just register Republican. It doesn't matter. You can go online. That little card doesn't make a difference. It doesn't actually mean anything. You can just register Republican. Let's all just register Republican. We can all register Republican. What will happen if the Republican Party and the MAGA Party all starts getting crazy leftist LGBTQ folk and we can all just register Republican. There's nothing stopping them. If they're going to round up all the leftists and the Democrats, we can all just register Republican. It's all fake anyway. It's all made up. Register Republican. You can vote for whoever you want in the general elections, but in the primaries, you would have a voice in a less crazy candidate, maybe making it to the last stage of the game here. Just register Republican. Just do it. Just register Republican. Nobody's going to stop you. You can do anything you want. Just register Republican.
Just do it. Just do it. I love the freeze frames at the end. Lady, no one's ever thought of this before. That's incredible. You've cracked the checkmate. Game over. Oh. Okay, well, what about the people that want to register Democrat and they want to go and they just want to have like non-lunatics? Then are we just going to get sort of semi-sensible candidates in the race? That'd be crazy. No way. Going to go back to the 80s? Amazing. Amazing work. Anyway, that lady's a walking argument for why some women shouldn't vote and maybe all women shouldn't vote. By the way, if you got rid of women as voters, you would like immediately change the way this country works. For the good ladies, for all the women that are like, hey, I just want to be protected and I want to have like normal feminine values and I don't want crazy people telling me that women and men are exactly the same in sports, like that there is a thing called a biological man and a woman and they don't perform at the exact same way. This is being discussed right now in the Supreme Court for whatever it's worth. You guys, the arguments were yesterday. Ketanji Jackson Brown did not disappoint. She said, maybe the dumbest thing that you've ever heard. She was like, so what we're trying to say here is that the word girl just means people who were assigned to be girls when they were born. Like, yep. You know when you say girls and then all the girls at the playground come over because those are your daughters and then the boys that belong to somebody else, they go somewhere else? Yeah, every child knows how this works. But women and men are the same. Just like that crazy lady who wants you to register Republican.
Why are you splitting up sports? Like, I'm pretty sure a woman can play basketball as well as a man if she practices and he practices. Like, what's the issue?
If you couldn't understand that through the chaos of people talking on the thing, I'm pretty sure that women can perform sports just as well as a man. All of you know that. I guess they never played boys versus girls when they were in kindergarten. That's about the differentiation that happened. I've been teaching my girls this since the beginning. It's like, hey, honey, you can play with boys right now. You guys can keep up with boys right now. In a very, very short order, within the next 3 years, my 8-year-old, you will find that they are both stronger, more aggressive, and they are not in the same category of human being as you. They are no longer going to be fun to play with because they dominate. They can hurt you. They can outrun you. They can outkick you. They can outclimb you. They can outthrow you. They can do all the stuff at a much higher level. Are there a small number of women that can compete? Sure. Of course there are. But it's not that common. And you're probably not going to be one of the women that can do that. So let's just be cool. First grade, boys against girls. Putting a boy on the girls' team evens the playing field if it's a decent player. I remember doing that when I was a kid playing soccer. So I hate being like just like a regular dude saying regular dude things, but this is the insanity we have. Luckily, the right, the political right, is totally on board with doing cool stuff. They're not attacking the people who say the most sensible things. They're not going to go out there and send Laura Loomer to try to get a gotcha moment against the Tom Massey, are they? They wouldn't do that. I'm going to play that in 1 second here. The fun stuff about social media not being real. Here we go. Make sure you guys like the video. I showed you the leaderboard. That's how you get on it. You give us a like on Rumble. If you want to bump up the performance of our YouTube videos, I would appreciate it. You can subscribe there as well if you have not already. And if you're listening today, you should be. It's the kind of fun we have here. We come to interesting conclusions like leftists as sovereign citizens. That is a Saturday Night Live skit that needs to happen. If you're watching on X, find us on one of the other platforms. Locals, if you guys are joining us, you could do that. And tomorrow we'll do the call-in show, giving you kind of a heads up. That's what you get out of it. I've got some behind-the-scenes stuff. I'll probably do some behind-the-scenes stuff from what's happening in at SHOT Show in Vegas on Locals. And then on top of that, I've also started filming things, range stuff. It's not going to be for everybody. It's not what we do normally here in the politics stuff, but it is where my passion is. So for those of you that are on Rumble that are saying, oh, screw YouTube, guess what? YouTube is allowing us to grow and Rumble is not. We've been static there for like a full year and they pay us way less to do the same thing. So just saying. At some point, Dan Bongino is probably going to cancel us there. So we'll get to that in just a second. All right. Make sure you guys are subscribed there. And if you want to watch over on Spotify, you may hear an ad from them at this moment. And it's KyleSerafinShow.com. All right. Let's see what other fun stuff. I told you Tom Massey. Okay, Tom Massey, I guess it was his birthday yesterday. I don't keep track of that kind of stuff. Grown men don't really celebrate their birthday in public. They just go to work like normal people. Here's Tom Massey on his birthday getting attacked by a guy who I have it on relatively decent authority is autistic. A friendly journalist that knows both of us apparently says that he's autistic. That doesn't excuse you being an asshole, it turns out. And here he is doing, I guess, a gotcha hit and getting owned with a squeaky voice like he's going through puberty. This is theoretically a grown man. If you're going to be in the man's world, make sure your voice drops before you start asking questions.
How's it going? Happy birthday. Thank you. Wait, so Congressman, in the last 2 weeks, you repeated AOC's talking points on Venezuela, and Jasmine Crockett has retweeted you. When will you change your party affiliation to Democrat?
I thought you knew. I vote with Republicans 91% of the time. And the 9% I don't, they're taken up for pedophiles, starting another war, or bankrupting our country.
I don't know about that, Congressman. We'll see.
Are we going to impeach Pat Monty for not releasing?
Oh, you got loomered, bro. When are you going to do this thing over there, Mr. Massey, Congressman Massey? When are you going to try to do this? Homie, get yourself under control. Looser underwear, something that fits better. Check out my buddies over at Undertack if you guys are in the market, whatever. If you want some things that are not going to bind your nuts up so you don't say something silly when you're on national television or you put something out on social media. Millions of views on that thing, and they thought it was an own. Weird. It turns out Massey's been pretty consistent. This thing's about a 13-year-old clip. I think this is from 2012. 12. Here it is. Massey saying, hey, the Federal Reserve sucks and we should control our money supply and maybe we should do something about not spending ourselves into foreign wars. And, you know, I don't know. He just seems like he's been a sensible guy for a long time. MAGA used to love him, just like MTG.
Mr. Massey, Mr. Atkins' opinion on auditing the Federal Reserve. Mr. Massey?
I think the Federal Reserve absolutely needs to be audited. How one person can decide to print $40 billion a month while Congress is arguing about where to cut $50 billion in a year, escapes me. They've really exceeded any kind of constitutional authority that they should be given. And by devaluing, by destroying our currency, which is what ultimately will happen given the policies of the Federal Reserve, this will affect the middle and low income classes in our country more than it will any other class.
Mr. Atkins? The Fed is a tool that's used by government to manipulate our economy so as to keep us from going into depression. Look back at the TARP bailout. As onerous as it was to do that, that was $1 trillion granted to Wall Street to keep the economy from slipping into the Great Depression. The Great Depression, too. We were looking square into the eyes of the Great Depression, too, in September through January of 2008, 2009. Without those tools, that's where we would be.
If we didn't have the Fed, then we would have a depression. Luckily, we don't have a complete devaluation of our money supply and a tanking U.S. currency, and then we have to start foreign wars to make sure that we assert our dominance. Okay, got it. Yeah, it turns out Massey was probably correct on that one. Go figure. In other serious news of what's happening, and we're getting there, I promise you, we're getting you to the bombshell reveal. I don't want to bump it up too much, but it is big. It is a big story about what happened because Dan Bongino finally told us what shocked him to his core, and I will get there. But I need you to be patient because another really, really important thing happened. Bill Clinton skipped out on his subpoena to show up. He was required to come and testify in front of Comer's committee, and he just didn't do it. And so I expect Fox News is going to get tipped off when the FBI does their 6 a.m. warrant and go grab him and drag him off and throw him into jail for contempt of Congress. You guys get that impression too? Here's Representative Chairman Comer talking about Bill Clinton, who apparently is a target, even though he's 1,000 years old, because he's so relevant to the Democrat Party now.
I think everyone knows by now Bill Clinton did not show up. And I think it's important to note that this subpoena was voted on in a bipartisan manner by this committee. This wasn't something that I just issued as chairman of the committee. This was voted on by the entire committee in a unanimous vote of the House Oversight Committee to subpoena former President Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Now, Hillary Clinton's supposed to show up tomorrow. We'll see what happens there. But with respect to the former president, he did not show up today. One reason I think most Americans want President Clinton to answer some questions is because he visited the White House. Jeffrey Epstein visited the White House 17 times while Bill Clinton was president. I've been in Congress 9 years. I think I've been to the White House 9 times in 9 years. Epstein was in the White House double the amount of time that I was under one president. And then we know that Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's plane somewhere around 27 times after the presidency. So no one's accusing him of doing anything wrong, but he needs to come and answer questions in front of us. Did you notice that his voice cracked 3 times too? What's going on? Maybe it's just the hallway. Maybe that hallway makes people's voice cracked and sound effeminate and sound like they're going through puberty. Meanwhile, if you guys were just listening, what you couldn't see was Lauren Boebert was carrying a very, very serious picture of Bill Clinton wearing a blue dress that was found in Epstein's apartment in New York. So that's the famous sort of snag job on him that he had a piece of art. Yeah, it's weird for sure. At least we don't have a bunch of people doing theater on the right, right? We don't have theatrical presentations happening on the right where you walk around with a piece of like goofy art stuff that means, I don't know, maybe something, maybe nothing. And you couldn't get him to show up. You know how Bill Clinton knows that he doesn't need to show up? Because he doesn't give a shit. He didn't show up. And are you guys going to have the balls to go and throw him in prison as a former president? They would have done it to Trump. I'll just tell you right up front. They would have totally done that to Trump if they could have got away with it. I don't even love Trump. I just know they would have done it. So do you. Cool. All right. So there's that. All right. Let me give you the background for those of you that don't know the story. Again, this is all theatrical. And unfortunately, the bombshell is going to probably be a little bit underwhelming for you as well. Let's go back in time a little bit. This is taking us back to a day after Dan Bongino signed on. He'll give you the whole context on this. When he signed on to be the FBI deputy director, the number 2, the operations officer or the chief operating officer of the FBI. It's a really important job. It is the nuts and bolts reason and way that you would put a practical plan in to solve the FBI issues, which we should all agree on. And he wrote as follows, quote, "During my tenure here as deputy director of the FBI, I have repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible. They are happening.
The director and I are committed to stamping out public corruption and the political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us. But what I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. Man, that's serious context for you. He will never be the same. And he's been shocked down to his core. Here's the longer statement. All right. And I took a picture of it on the day that he said it, 1 hour after he wrote it. I knew it was important at the time, so I got to pull my phone out of the Faraday bag. I'm going to tell you what day it was. I think it was on the 26th of June or July. We'll find it real quick. Stand by. So, in reading that, let's see here. July 26th is when I took a picture of it. So, that's where this thing comes from. And it was 1 hour old at the time. Okay. There's a little bit more context. God bless America and those who defend her. Respectfully, Dan, serious, serious stuff. We cannot run a republic like this. That had to be a big deal. Now, I'm going to give you about how big the bombshell hits. And I want you to listen for the specifics. This is a 60 Minutes interview that is also a bombshell in similar manner. And the questions being asked are very serious. Who, how, what, when, why? These are kind of the simple journalistic questions. Let's talk about directed energy weapons and foreign attacks on U.S. soil on our troops, the people who defend America that Dan was referencing there. And God bless all of them. This has the same energy that you're about to see from Bongino from his appearance yesterday.
Are we being attacked?
My personal opinion, yes.
By whom?
Russia.
Greg Ed Green ran the investigation for the Defense Intelligence Agency. He would not discuss classified information, but he described his team's work from 2021 to 2023.
We were collecting a large body of data ranging from signals intelligence, human intelligence, open source reporting, anything regarding the internet, travel records, financial records, you name it. Unfortunately,
pictures of dogs, videos of dogs walking, gait analysis from satellites of dogs. We were collecting scraps of paper, pieces of bubble gum, potential DNA information, water bottles with lipstick on it. You hear the long list? The long list is always kind of a tell when people are going to give you some bullshit answers, okay? I'm going to give you kind of a little insight into this. I don't know where I learned this. I just know that it's true because I've been around human beings. And by the way, so have you. When people start giving you extraordinary amounts of detail but not answering the question, what they're doing is they're giving you this little like, this is my credibility. Look at all these words I know. Look at all these things that were done. Don't worry about the answer. I'll get to that in a minute. Let me give you some more sort of historical background. Let me take you down another path where you can start thinking. And you're like, oh shit, yeah. Okay, they did all that analysis, signals intelligence, HUMINT, cool, GeoINT, spatial, whatever. They're giving you all the lists of the different types of information that they were evaluating. I'm not going to talk about anything classified. By the way, I'm not going to violate any NDAs. I'm not going to give you any actual information because what I did, I'm not actually allowed to talk about it. But let me just tell you, it was super serious. And you should know that because I said it and you heard how big my list is. That distractionary tactic of giving you lists and giving you stories and giving you sidelines and giving you all these tangents and the roundabout way when the answer is, let me just tell you what shocked Dan Bongino to his core, because I might as well tell you before you hear it. And then you guys, so the old thing they used to do in news is they would say, you're supposed to tell people what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you did tell them. All right. I'm going to do that with you right now because it's necessary because you're going to get distracted by the story that sounds almost plausible. Here we go. Dan Bongino, based on learning things in the properly predicated and necessary investigation into the aforementioned matters that have shocked him to his core and his knowledge that he will never be the same again after he learned it, is that, I was just reading some shit. I was reading it on a Friday, and then the next day I was just like, that was crazy. I just read Crossfire Hurricane stuff. Can you believe Crossfire Hurricane, the thing that I talked about for literally years on my podcast out loud with public and non-public information? Can you believe that? That shit was crazy, right? I feel like Will Smith sang it. He's like, yo, that was crazy, man. You see that? That was it. That's what shocked him to his core. He'll never be the same again. We cannot run our republic this way. Was you just reading some stuff? Don't believe me? Here it is. Let's play.
Are we being...
No, that's not it. Where's the Dan clip? Did I really not put it on? Oh my gosh, I have to grab it. I mean, I have it. just a question of why I didn't have it up front. This is how you know this is a one-man show. All right. Let me put it on the screen here. Shame on me. Shame on me. Dan Bongino, shocked to the core. There it is. Bombshell. Okay, incoming.
I'm sitting there on a Friday night, and it was late. I don't know. It was like 7 o'clock or something like that. And the security detail and my security detail and me, we were the only ones left. You know, it's a Friday. It's 7 o'clock. Work hours end at 5, unless there's usually something going on. 5:30, 6 people roll out.
Exclusive for the first time.
I'm sitting there on a Friday night. And
all right, I have to interject, and I have to put this on so I can actually talk with it because it's too funny not to. So he's sitting there on a Friday night, and he's now going to tell you about federal work practices, where his security detail was, and who was there in the building. Okay, so we're going to be able to stop this as we go. Let's dissect this for fun.
I'm sitting there on a Friday night, and it was late. I don't know. It was like 7 o'clock or something like that. And the security detail and my security detail and me, we were the only ones left. You know, it's a Friday. It's 7 o'clock. Work hours end at 5, unless there's usually something going on. 5:30.
So let me just tell you about how people work in the federal government. So sometimes people come to work, and then there are hours when they're not at work. And so there are times when you're in the building, and then there's people that are not in the building. And sometimes it's after hours, so they're really not in the building. And so the only people that were in the building were me. I mean, sometimes there's stuff going on, so there's more people in the building. But in this case, there were not that many people in the building. It was just me and the people that were there. Okay.
6 people roll out. And it was basically about Crossfire. I was just reading.
It's just no big deal. It's just some stuff I read.
Some stuff about Crossfire. And I had to tell you, I was blown away. And I think it was the next morning I actually sent that out. I think it was a Saturday. If you go back and look at the date on it,
It was a Saturday. The 26th of July was a Saturday. So let me get real specific about what day it was. I mean, it was a Friday that I read it, and I was shaken to my core. And then I reflected on it for a little while, and then I wrote something like a day later, and I was just like, oh yeah, like here's the most, and I'll never be the same. But it was just like stuff I read.
Sure, it was a Saturday.
Pretty sure it was.
Because I remember just going back that night. I was by myself. I said staring at the 4 walls. I meant the apartment.
The apartment walls.
I lived in this.
So I want to qualify, because previously I said on Fox that I was just stuck there staring at these 4 walls. I wasn't staring at the 4 walls in the office. When I was in the office, obviously I was busy, because people have said, oh, if you're just staring at the walls, you weren't doing a job. So I was doing something when I was working. But when I wasn't working, all I did was stare at these 4 walls. Now he's going to tell you about his apartment. You guys probably wondered what his apartment was like. And so I just want to know, what shook you to your core? Can you tell me about how your apartment was? And what did you like your apartment? Was it nice? Were there nice people? Did you have good neighbors? You're not going to get in all that? By the way, as we understand it, he was spending like $20,000 a month on his apartment. So it's not like a little apartment, but it's just a little apartment if you're worth $200 million. Okay.
That was a kind of tiny apartment in D.C., but it was nice and tiny. Whatever.
It's nice.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself, I couldn't believe this had happened. Like that it had, I shouldn't say, I couldn't believe it happened here.
Right.
Vince, having been a Secret Service agent.
Appeal to authority. I was a cop. I was a Secret Service agent. Now I work at the FBI.
Police officer, and I hadn't been in the FBI role that long, but it had been a few months. Yeah, again, you have to go back and date the tweet.
You got to go back and date the tweet. So he'd been in the role for 2.5, 3 months. So he wasn't that new, but he was kind of new, but he wasn't really that new. You guys know what I'm talking about. I mean, he was a Secret Service agent, a police officer. There's a lot of words here. We haven't answered the question yet.
It wasn't, I didn't get there last week at that point, so I had seen enough.
Okay.
I just thought, gosh, these guardrails just broke down because of people.
I will never be the same when I realized that the guardrails of people just broke down. I was shaken to my core forever. I'll never be able to just be like, it'll be changed forever when I realize that sometimes people don't do the right thing and the responses are awful. We are 1 minute and 15 seconds into the answer to this question. Let's keep going.
Just people are guardrails, not robots. I mean, I love Tesla, but Tesla robots are.
Have I told you about Tesla? I love Tesla. Tesla robots are not people. And so maybe you know that too. I mean, if you're a sensible person, you realize that people are not robots. And even though robots are great, and I love robots, and everybody loves robots that I know, but do you guys know about robots? Can we do a little aside about robots?
Guardrails. Okay. Human beings are guardrails. People are power. And I was just stunned at how many people just let this the incredibly poor decision-making. It was just...
Isn't this the guy that went on his radio show and went on his podcast for straight up years telling you that the FBI was an agency that had betrayed all of us, direct quote, that it was irredeemable, direct quote, that there was no excuse for it existing, that we needed total personnel warfare, which would mean that the people that work there were the problem, that it was full of abject corruption, and they had done things that were illegal, immoral, unethical. Didn't he was just shaken to the core that he read the documents that proved that he was right all the time.
It blew my mind, and I've never really discussed this before.
This is exclusive. This is hold on. This is exclusive. He's never discussed this before.
Breaking exclusive. Breaking exclusive. Breaking exclusive.
All right. He's never here we go.
Probably get into it in as much detail as I can on the show, obviously within reason, but yeah,
classified.
I got up the next day and I just fired that out.
I just fired out a 4-paragraph long articulated thought to make people think that something was going on when nothing was going on. By the way, has anybody from Crossfire been destroyed? No, they're just now theoretically convening a grand jury on that stuff. How many of that stuff is still on? Like, have they passed the statute of limitations for any of it? I guess it depends on what they want to charge.
I thought to myself, I was really shaken by the whole thing.
I thought to myself, you just read some stuff. And now that you're home looking at the 4 walls of your tiny apartment that costs you 5 figures a month, like, man, you're never going to be the same, Self.
How these guardrails broke down so quickly. It was astonishing. And I was, oh boy, it's even now talking about it. I just remember that feeling. Like, yeah, gosh, did this really happen?
This really happened, and I'm just sick. I'm sick about it. Wow. All right. So that's what happened, guys. That is...
Morris gave up a big nugget.
That is the big nugget that we've been waiting for. It did kind of underwhelm, I think, for a lot of people. It did kind of sound like this. Like, it sounded like the guy that was not going to tell you the story.
I'm sitting there on a Friday night, and it was...
I was just sitting there, and I was reading, and then I just woke up, and I just... So there's your preview. That's your preview of what's coming next in the Dan Bongino podcast world. The upside is that there's some serious fun comedy, and this could be just as much a palate cleanser as not, but let's just play this real quick. This is Dave Smith, who's been the target du jour of the of the Bongino wrath, which is happening. He's come back and he's realized, well, I can't be credible. I can't say things that are true. I said a bunch of dumb shit for a long time, and I should be embarrassed. I took all these really, really dour looking serious pictures of me looking like a super aggressive dude. And now my only option is to pick fights with comedians who are super funny about it. And I watched this yesterday, which is I think Dave Smith posted this on socials as well. It was a set that he did. My favorite is like real stories that comedians get up and do, and they just tell you in a funny way. I had the same moment because as we finished up the podcast here yesterday, 3 Chinook helicopters like hung out over our house for a few minutes, like 3 or 4 minutes. And I was like, oh shit, I could hear them. And I didn't know what it was. And I knew they were big. And when I came down, my wife was like, yeah, they were the big CH-47s like hanging out over the house. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? Are they going to go drop a bunch of HRT guys in the backyard? I hope not. There's a really good landing field behind me though. It would be really cool. It'd make for an outstanding like mission recorder camera because there's like wavy grasses. It looks kind of like Africa. It's all... Anyway, this is super funny. So here you go. Here's Dave Smith getting a moment on his comedy set about this really serious guy and whether or not Dan Bongino is going to kill his family.
He was the guy. He was a podcaster, and when he was a podcaster, he was like, Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile who ran a big pedophile ring, and we got to get to the bottom of that. And then he became deputy FBI director, and then he got on TV, and he was like, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, and there was no one else involved. And now he's like the guy who's like, what's up with these people talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Like, what a bunch of losers. So anyway, so I called him out for that on the show. That's what pissed him off. I called him out for that. And okay, yes, I said some things that may have rubbed him the wrong way. Like I think I said his legacy will forever be covering for pedophiles. That's a tough thing to hear, but in my defense, I'm completely right. So I said that. And then he got mad at me, he was crashing out, and he said, said that thing about the kids could blink twice and they'll be right there. But I suck my dick, Dan Bongino. I don't give a shit. I'm not gonna fucking do shit, you know? That's the thing, because I talked shit back to him. He got more and more angry, and then me and Rob were laughing more and more. And then we did a podcast, and I said some things. And I just did an hour, like, just shitting on Dan Bongino.
You gotta love it when people give you a lot of material. The short version of that is that he was shit talking Bongino. Bongino was shit talking back, and then he had the alarms. He got a notification on his phone that all the alarms in his house went off and all the cameras went down at the same time. He said for 5 minutes he couldn't get his wife on the phone, and he was panicking like, "Oh my God, Bongino's gonna kill!" Like he did it the same day. Like everybody's gonna know it was him. Like, he killed my family. And then his wife called him, and he was like, "Yeah." And then he was like, "Yeah, I knew you were okay." And then he went back to shit talking because that's funny. It's also crazy. And he goes on and reflects in that clip, which I'll probably post over on my locals just for you guys to see as well, because I just think it's funny. And the audio is not great. The funniest thing is that when you live in a world where the craziest thing possible, the deputy director of the FBI is personally shit talking you because of like your political positions and calling out things that are factually accurate, like you sucked at what you did and you said a bunch of nonsense and then you didn't back it up, then that's chaotic. And then they're like directly, coming after you. Or you see them go on Fox News and obliquely reference you. That's crazy to millions of people, especially when you're just like a regular dude. Like he's a comic. I'm a guy sitting behind a podcast studio. That hit very similarly close to home for me. When the FBI director's girlfriend comes out of nowhere and sues you for something you said to the audience we have, which I'm really proud of the size of our audience, but let's be real. It's not the biggest audience out there, and it didn't get wide reaching unless they were watching it in real time to be able to do it. Because 5 days later, I got hit with a major lawsuit. A major pain in the ass lawsuit, which has cost me a bunch of money. And I don't want to ask anybody for the money. I'm just like, I'll just deal with it until we go. If we get it dismissed, we're going to call it a wash. But as of yet, it's cost me 20 grand, which is a lot of money to me. It's probably a lot of money to you too. How many of you guys can stroke out a check for $20,000 and not have your year be destroyed? It's a big chunk. It's like more than 2 months of what we earn on the podcast. It sucks. It's just awful. So anyway, I get a strong feeling from watching what Dave Smith is doing. And you're like, yeah, man, that hits home. These people are crazy and they're petty. And like, would they send somebody to go turn off your power and attack your family? Or would they put a helicopter over your head to scare the shit out of you? I don't know. But I've seen too many weird things in the last 3 years to not think that. I've seen too much weird stuff that makes me think the pettiness of this is real. And on the other side of the coin, we got people telling us they're going to go out there and do all this wild stuff. So we're living in a strange time, and it doesn't make me feel great about it, but at least we can all laugh about it as we go along. If you guys are watching and you want to support us, the cheapest thing to support us is just to give us a like, go out there, share the show with somebody, tell them you found it amusing, entertaining, informative, you found it offensive, and it made you think. I don't care, like whatever it is. Like, send it out there. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. Subscribe if you're on Rumble and you haven't before. Boost us up there by giving us the likes. All that stuff is great. But to watch somebody come out and tell us that they've had their life changed by something that was like, I was just reading some documents about stuff I already knew about, and now I'm never going to be the same. Like, I know you're full of shit. So I won't be full of shit. I promise you, I will do whatever I think is true and accurate. I will continue to do that here. Nobody pays me. Nobody buys my opinion, probably to my own detriment. I'm sure there's a lot more money to be made if I'm willing to say things that make people happy, but I won't, because I'm not that guy. And sometimes that's going to irritate you, just like everybody else in your life that says things that you don't agree with. I told you the other day one time, my best friend in the world, one of the nicest people I've ever met, thinks that we should throw unlimited money to Ukraine. I have no idea why he thinks that. I think it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I still love him. And so, you can like people, and you can even find that you really like people who you don't agree with. Crazy. Go look at your spouse. Go look at yourself in the mirror from 10 years ago, and you'll find out that you may have changed. So that's what I want to do. We're going to keep challenging whatever nonsense narrative comes out there, and you won't find us huffing anybody's farts or buying anybody's hype. And I will continue to stay with principles, even if it's not fun, cool, or it gets some hate. That's how it's going to be. Thank you guys for joining us for the program. All of you are the best. Let's do something funny. I think I got something funny here. I think I queued up something, and not just a nurse telling us something crazy. Okay, this is good. We were talking about Jeffrey Epstein in the little clip there. That was the whole bit about Dave Smith. I found this clip on Instagram the other day. And this just looks like something one of my brothers would do. I don't talk about a bunch, but I've got 4 brothers, and they're all like turds in their own right. Many of them are on the left, and they're super smart, and they're really funny, and they do these weird things. My friends would buy a picture of Jeffrey Epstein, put it on the wall, and pretend that it's not Jeffrey Epstein. So this is a little skit. I'm just kind of giving away the goose for those who are listening and can't see it. What you're missing is the picture is a poster of Jeffrey Epstein on the wall, and the guy is pretending that it's not Jeffrey Epstein, and that's the gag. And it's still funny. Ready? Here we go.
Sean, why do you have that?
This? He's my hero.
He's a really bad guy.
He's a traveler.
He's a pedophile.
No, he's not. He's a chef.
Jeffrey Epstein?
This is Anthony Bourdain.
No.
No, that's Jeffrey Epstein.
I think I would know who Anthony Bourdain is. A part's unknown. This is literally the same guy.
Bro, it's not even close.
Are you guys serious?
Where'd you even get that poster?
I had it printed at FedEx. The guy was like, that's sick. And I was like,
he was saying that's sick.
Yeah, that's sick.
No, sick. Like, he's a pedophile.
He's not. Stop saying that. You know he killed himself.
Well, no, a lot of people disagree.
You're saying that's contested?
Have you ever had anyone, like, come in here and talk about this?
I had a girl over here the other day, and I'm still waiting to hear back from her. Well, she said, oh, do you like him? And I was like, yeah, I think a lot of people do. She probably likes Bobby Flay more.
Watch this.
How long have you been sexually attracted to underage minor females?
I haven't seen this episode. Is this a deleted scene?
No, this is Jeffrey Epstein.
It's Anthony Bourdain, obviously.
How do you not know who this guy is?
I even had this t-shirt made.
Oh my God.
I wore this to my nephew's birthday party. Look, #1 travel partner.
Sean.
Wanderlust.
Wait, is it signed?
Yeah, I met him in 2017. Pretty cool, right?
Where did you meet him?
Florida, Palm Beach. He left a message on the back, too. You want to see it? See you on the plane.
Why would he see you on the plane?
We both like to travel. This is Jeffrey Epstein, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Well, at least I still have my framed photo of Chris Farley.
That's John Wayne Gacy.
We used to be able to just laugh about dumb stuff. That's a great one, by the way. That John Wayne Gacy at the end with Chris Farley. So good. All right. Have a laugh. Look forward to seeing leftists as sovereign citizens. That may be the best thing that could happen in 2026. Let me know if you agree. And I look forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow. God bless all of you. Thanks for watching us.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram @Kyle Seraphin.